Hi and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's Game of Thrones video on episode 9 and 10. So a few days ago, the official synopsis for episode 9 and 10 were released, so I just wanted to give a few quick thoughts on that and some predictions. So I'm going to start off with the spoiler warning for the Song of Ice and Fire books, as my predictions are based off of what occurs in them, so if you haven't read the books you might not want to watch this video. Also, I will be discussing the synopsis for episode 9 and 10 as well as the promo for episode 9, so if you don't want to know about those either, then this video probably isn't for you. So I'm making this video a few days before episode 9 is released, so I know many of you may be watching this after it came out, but I wanted to give my thoughts on episode 10 first before knowing what happened in episode 9. So, as I mentioned, the official synopsis for episode 9 and 10 were released, so I'm just going to read those and then give my thoughts on them. First, episode 9, the title is The Dance with Dragons, and the synopsis is Stannis confronts a troubling decision, John returns to the Wall, Mace visits the Iron Bank, Arya encounters someone from her past, Dany reluctantly oversees a traditional celebration of athleticism. Stannis confronts a troubling decision seems to refer to the choice Melisandre put before him about sacrificing his daughter Shireen. We saw from the promo of episode 9 that it appears that Ramsay may be attacking Stannis as he promised to do in last week's episode. So I predict that Stannis may get dealt some damage by Ramsay's elite group and will lead him to become more desperate, and he'll start to reconsider Melisandre's proposal. However, I don't think this will be resolved until episode 10. John returns to the Wall is pretty self-explanatory, as we saw a scene of this in the promo. I think this won't take up too much screen time, but we'll start to expand upon the tension building in the Night's Watch and how they are unhappy with him bringing so many wildlings in to set up for episode 10. Mace visits the Iron Bank. Finally, it's about freaking time. He left for Braavos in like episode 3. You know, I've complained in the past about how travel times in the show are a bit off, about how Littlefinger in season 4 traveled to and from King's Landing from the Eyrie at a rate that is much faster than what it should be. But travel times that happen too fast can be explained away by the fact that the show moves at a much quicker rate than the books. The showrunners have always said, has recently said that about 4 years have passed since season 1, which is more time than in the books. So it may be a lot more time passes between each episode, which may explain how people seem to get from one place to another a lot quicker than they should. However, what's off is when they go slower than they should, like in season 4 for example. If we take the show at its accelerated time rate, then that means it took Arya and the Hound like a year to get from the Twins to the Bloody Gate in the Vale, which is far, far too long. Similarly here, Mace seems to be taking his sweet old time getting to Braavos, as in the same time span Tyrion has traveled from Volantis to Meereen, Littlefinger from Winterfell to King's Landing, and you know, he's been there for a while. And John, in a much shorter time span, traveled from Castle Black to Hardhome and back. So it makes me wonder if Mace got trapped in the storm on the way, or maybe a time warp or something. Anyway, Arya encounters someone from her past. Obviously this has got to be Meryn Trant, since he's traveling with Mace and we know he arrives in Braavos. Since Meryn Trant is on Arya's kill list, this is going to put her in quite a conundrum. I'm sure that she will kill him, but I'm not sure if it will happen in this episode or the next. I'm going to guess this episode. I wonder if she'll have to choose between killing the Thin Man and Meryn, and she chooses Meryn Trant. I think they may do the whole blind thing or some other punishment Jaqen has in mind for Arya for killing someone for her own purposes. And then in episode 10, this punishment will be absolved and she'll move on from there. Dany reluctantly oversees a traditional celebration of athleticism. Is obviously referring to the fighting pits, and I think we'll get the full-on fighting pit scene in this episode. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we spend the last half hour in Meereen this episode like we spent the last half hour in Hardhome in the previous episode. This is going to be the main setup piece for episode 9. And it's going to be a huge action sequence with dragons and fighting that will be even more grand than it was in the books. The Sons of Harpy are going to make their big move. And, as we've seen from the trailers, Dany and her group will end up being trapped in the fighting pits, fighting for their lives. I think it's possible we may even see all 3 of her dragons, that somehow the other 2 get released, possibly by the Sons of the Harpy trying to kill them or something. And all hell's gonna break loose and end with Daenerys going off on a ride on Drogon, which will be the episode 9 closer. So on to episode 10, which is called The Mother's Mercy. The synopsis is: Stannis marches, Dany is surrounded by strangers, Cersei seeks forgiveness, John is challenged. You'll notice that this synopsis is much shorter and more vague. I think that's because a lot is going to go down in this episode, so they don't want to give too much away. In an interview before the season started, Finn Jones, who plays Loras Tyrell, said while he was reading the script for episode 10, he was so shocked he threw his script across the room. He also said that episode 10 is going to be an amazing episode, and I heard many others make similar claims. So I think there's going to be a lot more going on here than what the synopsis states. But like the White Walker invasion, the showrunners are keeping it under wraps so it can come as a surprise. So Stannis marches. I think this Stannis Shireen situation will be resolved in this episode, and he may go towards Winterfell, but I have doubts if he'll get there. You'll notice there's been no mention of Sansa or Brienne in either of these synopses. My prediction for this is that maybe, I'm going out on a limb here, but maybe Brienne busts into Winterfell and starts wreaking havoc. After all, in interviews with Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne, she said season 5 was her favorite season and the best season for Brienne, and so far she hasn't really done anything. So you gotta think that whatever she's up to is coming, so maybe Brienne and Sansa somehow kill Roose Bolton and seize control of Winterfell from the inside, and when Stannis arrives, he's greeted with open gates. As I said, I'm not too firm on this theory, I'm just spitballing here. So Dany is surrounded by strangers. I think this refers to the Dothraki. If I'm correct about episode 9 and it ends with her flying off on Drogon, her episode 10 story arc will resolve that and have her fly off and meet the Dothraki. Now I'm going to make a really bold prediction and predict that Daenerys will leave for Westeros by the end of episode 10. And that, in fact, will be the scene that closes out Season 5. Daenerys getting on the ships and going to Westeros. This may seem a bit far-fetched, as it is indeed it is the Dothraki who are the strangers. But maybe the show will find some way to move things along, or maybe the strangers aren't the Dothraki and are someone else. However, I want to correct something I've heard some other reviewers say, and that is that Dany has no ships, which is untrue. It was stated clearly in Season 4 that Daria has captured the Meereenese navy of 93 ships. So Daenerys has the ships and can go to Westeros whenever she's ready. So my bold prediction is by episode 10, she will find some way to sort out the Meereen situation, and in the very last scene will start making her way to Westeros. But this is more wishful thinking than anything else, but we'll just see how it goes. Cersei seeks forgiveness. Well, this episode is called The Mother's Mercy, so I think Cersei will be broken down and will confess in order to get out of the cell. The Walk of Shame will happen in this episode, and I think that will pretty much be the end of Season 5 storyline for Cersei. It will end with the introduction of Sir Robert Strong, who will be there to receive Cersei, and then Kevin Lannister and Maester Pycelle will meet their end at the hands of Varys, or possibly Littlefinger, maybe Varys. John is challenged. For the watch, anyone? Although that challenge could possibly be the pink letter. If my Winterfell prediction comes true, that wouldn't apply, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe Brienne escapes with Sansa and they head towards the wall, so maybe the challenge comes from Ramsay, but more likely the challenge is from Alistair Thorne being unhappy with him bringing the wildlings in, and they will instigate for the Watch Mutiny, which Ollie will be a key member of, indirectly stabbing Jon Snow. Also, I'll notice that Dorne wasn't mentioned in either synopsis, but you did see a bit of Doran in the promo for episode 9, so I'm hoping that episode 9 will set up Doran and the Dorne situation a bit more, and in episode 10 Doran will reveal his master plan that will somehow involve an alliance with Daenerys and will tie into her coming to Westeros. Also, it's been rumored that Varys may show up in Dorne, perhaps to be the one who brokers this alliance. We'll just have to see. So that's it for my episode 9 and 10 prediction video. Be sure to check out my channel for other Game of Thrones videos, and check in with me the next 2 weeks when these episodes air so you can see how wrong I am. So make sure you subscribe to keep up with all that, and thanks a lot for watching.